Hey, what is up?
Man,
Welcome to the Now.
Welcome to the Now.
Hayes, we got a living room set up again.
I like it. I
we
really
had
do.
it here like this with Elle, and we had way more views than any other podcast. So it's obviously the set.
We got to do it.
We got to keep doing it. Hey, I am Pastor Drew. This is my boy Hayes, and we are so glad that you decided to join us today on the Now. We've got a special guest coming up with none other than ISM's Zach Thayer. So we're super excited to have him on. And, obviously, next week's conversation is going to look a little different. We're going to have some awesome testimonies and some experiences that you're not going to want to miss. You're going to want to be a part of that. And so be on the lookout for that. Hayes, what's going on in Life Youth right now?
Yeah, so we got a soccer ambush game coming up in 2 days.
Let's go. Have you been to an ambush game?
I've never been to an ambush game.
I feel like I ask you that every time.
So it's going to be awesome. I'm really excited for that. Hey, February 26th is the ambush game, so 2 days. But our February series going into a little bit of March is What is Love?
Yeah.
And I love what you guys have been talking about so far. But just a reminder, next week is going to be awesome testimonies. We're going to play some clips. We're going to comment on the experience, miracles, healing, maybe a little bit of just a lot of testimonies. But hey, here's my favorite clip from last week's podcast.
It's so good. It was so good. I love this clip. Check it out.
Let's play it.
I think just like diving into what does God say about me is super important. Then we come into like girls, they start dressing immodestly. I need validation from these people because I don't think I look good. So let me hear what they have to say about my body. So they're wearing things that they shouldn't be wearing in public. Like maybe your crop top isn't
cropping. I'm just kidding.
It's too cropping. Your crop top is too much. Cropping. My dad always tells me, you have to leave some secrets for your husband. And what you shouldn't be wearing, you're not leaving any secrets. So I just say, you got to cover yourself. That doesn't mean there's not a time and place for a crop top. You can wear a crop top. You can wear shorts, but booty shorts are not in. Modest is hottest.
Modest is always hottest.
Wear shorts that are long and that aren't exposed. I don't know what we're that aren't showing what's behind you.
Oh man. You know what? That was the first girls takeover for the Now podcast.
Oh man, it was awesome.
It was so good. Those girls did an amazing job. We're going to have more of those. And you know what though? Right now, we're not going to talk about girls. We're going to talk with our very own ISM, Zach Thayer.
The exact opposite of a group of girls.
The exact opposite. There's beards and glorious manliness that's in this room right now.
The epitome of manliness.
That's right.
I learned how to change a tire like 2 years ago. So,
so you earned your man card 2 years ago.
If that's all it takes, I did it.
Oh man. So Zach, talk to us how's life going right now?
Man, I'm in a season where I'm 4 years into this social media for Illinois Student Ministries thing, media needs for our events. And there were people doing those things, but it was normally a volunteer role or a freelance role before me. I'm the first full-time guy that lives at Lake Williamson that's there all the time. And so I've been kind of figuring out how to do this job every year.
Okay.
And I feel like I'm in a season where I'm like, okay, like, there's a rhythm.
Yeah.
I know what the rhythm of the job is, and I know what works well for me to not just do the job well, but also live well well, where I'm not a slave. I'm not a slave to the urgent. You hear that talk about in leadership circles where, I'm not a slave to, what am I going to post tomorrow?
Right.
Or, oh no, momentum's coming up next week and I don't have anything done. Like I'm not in that mode anymore. And the times where I am, I'm not emotionally unhealthy about it either.
Sure. That's good. That's real good. That's
good.
Really good.
And just going off what you said, what are some like highs and lows of having that job where maybe it might seem urgent? You got to make that post that day. What are some urgent social
I would
media?
say let's start with the bad news, the lows first, right? So the lows are and this can apply to any job where the numbers determine your self-worth. So like if you're a pastor, you might feel like, man, I suck as a person because I only have 10 kids in my youth group.
Right.
And sometimes there's moments week to week, day to day, where if a post isn't over 100 likes or whatever number you want to throw on it, like it's like, man, I suck as a social media guy. Or it's like, and it's like, it doesn't mean that the post was bad or you weren't supposed to do it. Like sometimes there's just a different way to present that same information the next time, or it's just like, hey, it just didn't pop off today. It's okay. You know, your worth isn't determined by the metric, right? So I think it's just constantly fighting that on a day-to-day basis, not letting that get to you.
Sure.
And then also like there's the urgent thing of the job's never done. As long as until Jesus comes back, the job's never done. There's always going to be like, all right, what are we going to post tomorrow? What are we going to post next week?
That's right.
But the highs of it, man, and I'm in a unique situation where not every social full-time content creator has a personal relationship with their audience.
Yeah.
You know, like I would say that most YouTubers or Instagram people, and like, look, if you got millions of, it's totally different context if you're creating content for millions of people, not like for ISM where it's, you know, the students of the state. But I get to hang out with the people who view my content. That's, you know what I mean? Cool. And that's it's, I get to do stuff like what I'm doing right now with you guys, or shoot videos at youth groups across the state where, you know, it's not, I'm not just creating by myself and throwing something out into the void, and like my sense of community is only found in the comment section. Yeah. You know, I get to hang out with students at camp, and I get to hang out with students at Momentum and Fine Arts and all the things.
That's so cool.
So awesome.
That's so cool. So we obviously want to ask the question that the people want to know.
That the people have been wondering.
They have been like, you know, pitchforks coming, you know, at us,
the
beating down the door.
Debate online.
Exactly. How many pairs of shoes does the Chris Stanley own?
You
Just
know,
an estimate.
when you sent me this question, I thought about it. And here's the thing is, and you can get a good idea of this just by looking at me in any given context, that like I clearly don't care about clothes. You know, like I am old. Like, so like I don't like, man, like if somebody's like, you know, like, oh, you didn't notice my new pair of shoes. No, I didn't. No, I did not.
I'm taking a picture of your face.
The number that sounds right is 15, but I honestly have no idea.
That's the number that sounds right.
And here's the thing, like even with me, like I was the barefoot kid in college.
Okay, yeah,
you know what I mean? Like every Christian college has a barefoot guy. That was me at Evangel University from 2011 through 15. And that mantle gets passed, and
there's a ceremony.
And like every good pair of shoes I have was legit given to me as a gift by somebody.
There you go.
So, you know, like whether it's Josh Heinzman, he gave me a couple nice pairs.
There you go.
My mom, the Paul Heinzman, the Stanleys, I've given me a pair of shoes. So, you know, I honestly have no idea because I don't even pay attention for myself.
That's fair.
So 15.
Yeah, 15 is.
What's the over under there?
If you should get him on the show and get him to confirm. That is
Chris.
We want to see you in the comment section. We want to see you here or in the comment section.
Yes.
Is it 15 over or under?
I think that would be a funny like maybe raffle or giveaway. Like, you know, like you see like those jars of marbles.
Guess how many marbles are in
So it's
jar.
like, guess how many pairs of shoes Chris Stanley has. And whoever has the correct answer gets a prize.
Definitely sounds like a Speed the Light fundraiser right there.
Oh my God.
There's a
$5 a ticket.
Yeah.
$5 a ticket, you know.
For each guess. Yeah.
Oh
and
my
then
gosh.
you get the credit.
Yeah, for sure.
Look at that.
We're on to something here.
There's something here.
For sure onto something.
Yeah.
Speaking of ISM, I know him and I were talking about, you know, all the different things that's going on, and Hayes, you know, was like, man, we were talking about memories about ISM and just the things that happen all over the state and the things that you're involved in, which is so amazing. What would you say, and I kind of skipped over Hayes' question, but that's okay. Good. What would you say are your like top 3 favorite Breakaway memories?
And there's a bunch. And here's the thing with, especially since being the social media guy, you know, it started off with just the daily recap videos in 2018, but then that's grown over the years to where it's like, okay, I'm not just worried about the daily recap video. I'm worried about the daily photo dump, the daily reel, the daily video. Right. And so there's content constantly being created. So for me, like the week is a blur, and then the summer is a blur, to where like I legit only know what happened day to day, week to week, based off like who's there or like what day or what time like, have you ever been on a cruise ship?
Yeah.
And they put like the day of the week in the elevator? Like that's my mode. Like that's where it's like, man, what's today? And so top 3 memories just off the top of my head. one from this past. So I remember one time I stayed up. So I'm pulling late. I get 2 to 4 hours of sleep every night.
Right.
Day to day, week
on Breakaway.
During Breakaway. And then that last night I do edit the day 4 recap video, and then I immediately edit the testimony video.
Right.
So week 1 of 2022, that Thursday and the Friday, I got 45 minutes of sleep. And then that Thursday to Friday, week 2, I tried to sleep and I don't think I did at all that night.
Oh my goodness.
And so this is sort of a quasi Breakaway memory, but like we had a wedding in the Ozarks right after week 2, day 4 of Breakaway.
Oh my goodness.
And so I just remember like I get out and I like go out into civilization after that last video's done. And I'm like, okay, I've had little to no sleep this past week, and I'm pretty sure I didn't sleep at all this last night.
Oh my gosh.
And I remember trying the people, and I'm like I remember standing in a circle talking to a group of youth pastors, and I'm in my own head, like trying to look human. I'm like, okay, look at them, stare at them, but smile 1, 2, 3. Okay, look at him, nod and 1. Like because I'm like just trying to focus and trying to like because I don't want to come off as like antisocial.
Sure.
And like the whole week I haven't really gotten to talk to anybody, so I'm just but I'm like in my own head seeing. And this is kind of like a mix. Another favorite memory is the greatest strength of Illinois camps is also its weakness, and it's the passion of students during the competitions.
Yeah.
Where it's like, it's the greatest strength. I love it,
Yep.
but it can also be like, all right, guys, like you need to chill out. Like, seeing things like, and even the leaders too get really into it. And like, people can get overly competitive and get in, there can be some bad blood, but when it's kept tasteful, it's so much fun to watch, and seeing just like stuff that would be on ESPN Sports Center highlights. Like I think this past year was definitely the Ethan Mills maneuver.
Oh my gosh.
Dude.
Him in the barrel game, doing the flip. And it's like, because I remember thinking like it was theoretically possible. But I'm like, he's a bigger dude.
He's a big guy, yeah.
Yeah, I'm like,
sure.
I don't know if and he pulled it off, and then he did it twice.
Yeah.
And then he hurt his shoulder.
He popped his shoulder, but like it was worth it.
Yeah, dude, it looks so sick.
He got his, and we got it from multiple angles, just like by the grace of God. I'm like, because after moments like that, I immediately run off to the side. I'm like, did I just get that? And I'm like, I play it back. I'm like, come on, God. And I'm like, oh, thank God it's unfocused. And then I think just some other favorite memories. I remember, I call it my Daniel story. And this is really just from this past year. That's not even talking about other years. But this past year, I have my Daniel story. And this is kind of like a more serious one. So the story in Daniel where the exiles get taken and they're having to work in the king's palace.
Right.
And they say like, okay, you have to eat this food and you have to do all these customs in order to work here. And they're like, well, that's against our beliefs. Right. And they say like, okay, how about we put this up to a test? How about we do what we want to do, and then you do with the other guys what you want them to do, and we'll see who's healthier at the end. And I remember I had this moment after week 1 of teen camp where it was fun. I had a good time, but I remember feeling drained that weekend going into week 2. And I was like, doing some searching. I'm like, okay, why do I feel like it's normal that I'm physically tired? Why am I emotionally tired? And I was, doing some praying, and God was like, it's because you skipped the evening services to go edit.
Oh,
it's like, well, that's why I'm like, God, like I'm already not sleeping,
but I'm serving you.
I'm like, I'm already not sleeping, and I'm working, and I have my second shooter and my photographer, and they're like, it's getting covered. Like, what's the big deal? And we prayed about it, and he was like, all right, well, let's do a Daniel test. It's like, you had your first week of doing it your way, and so we'll try it my way the second week, where you go to the first evening service, you shoot that, take notes, and and so if you notice, like if you were on the ISM Instagram stories, that week had notes that I took in the services as a link. And so, even though I got the same amount of sleep anyway, and I felt better by the end of the week. Cool. And so it's like, okay, I can do both.
That's so cool.
Because it's not just even just for my, like, okay, I need to be in the service to get something. It's also me seeing the students worshiping themselves too, and seeing what the speaker is saying. Like, that helps me better tell the story of Breakaway, knowing what's actually happening in the evening service. Because that first week, I was just at the mercy of what I heard from other people and what coverage my second shooters got.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, but because I sat in it myself, and I got to see it for myself, I got to hear this past summer Pastor Joey's sermons. I knew what content to make off of that sermon because I got to sit in it.
Yeah.
So that's something that so that's my Daniel story, and that's something that I'm going to carry into events going forward, where it's like, if I can help it, I'm going to sit in it.
Yeah, for sure.
You know?
Definitely.
Sure.
And staying on that ISM topic. Maybe, I don't know if you grew up in ISM, or like grew up in these camps, but what was your favorite event? Maybe in service, out of service,
just growing up
ISM
specifically,
event,
or
growing up.
Because I grew up in Oklahoma, but so ISM didn't become my family until I was an adult.
Okay.
So do you want to know, like, because I grew up going to like Oklahoma Assemblies of God camps and their conventions.
So let's just keep it on ISM. Maybe you're shooting, maybe just favorite event of all time.
If we could talk about like an underrated one, fine arts.
Come on,
is like, because like for me, and this even ties back to childhood too, where the first videos I ever made were for fine arts.
Yeah.
You know, I wasn't like, that was the first video. I'll put it this way. That was the first video I made that I had to show to other people.
Oh, sure.
And be like, all right, what do you think of this?
Be gentle.
Right, exactly. So like, because like I made videos with my friends of like just us, you know, goofing around, but like nothing where it's like, okay, I'm going to write a script and I'm going to film actors and edit. It was awful. Like, no, like I burned and threw away all the copies of that film a long time ago. And as far as I know, it's still that way. But that was an experience for me that I needed, where it's like, I needed to make something awful before I made something good.
Yeah.
And fine arts I would never even tried to do it if I didn't have an opportunity like fine arts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And obviously he's repping the shirt, so you knew he
There we
had
are,
it.
right?
You knew he was going to do it.
You know, so just want to finish up with this last question. It's not even one that I sent you, but it's just kind of something that came to mind, because we're talking about content. We're talking about content creation, all of those things. So what would you tell that young teenager, that young middle schooler who's trying to put their content together? Like, what advice?
'Cause every little kid, like, I feel like my generation, everybody my age when we were little wanted to be a firefighter, or an army soldier or a policeman, and now everybody wants to be a YouTuber.
Right, exactly.
You know, you go to any kid's church in America, every single one of them wants to be a YouTuber.
Yeah. So what would you say to that young person who's like trying to put content together? Like, where would you tell them to start? What would you tell them to keep the main thing? What does that look like?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is to just, you know, this is so cliche that I even hesitate to say it, but it's true. It's just start.
Yeah.
It's like, start making something, like, and here's another thing is, don't just make it and then put it out there and then like keep making things the same way.
Right.
Like,
that's good.
Actually, like, be honest about yourself of like, okay, what worked about this and what didn't. And then,
that's good.
So like, don't just, because you always hear people say like, well, practice makes perfect. Yeah. Well, if you're practicing wrong,
right.
then like, no, it's not going to make perfect.
Exactly.
Where it's like, but if you practice it and you show it to other people and you get their feedback and you even watch it with a critical eye, be like, okay, I could have edited the audio a little bit better, or we could have we could have put up the lights differently, or I should have put a tripod on it instead of using a stack of books, or, you know, like whatever, or like, oh man, like the shot and like, look, and I'm still doing that where like sometimes like I am the most critical person of anything I put out there, for whether it's a camp video or a meme or like anything in between. But I'm not critical for the sake of putting down myself and putting down my worth, but it's just like, okay, I want this to get better because this isn't about me. This is about the kingdom, and I want this thing to live beyond me.
Yeah, that's really good.
So like whoever is in this seat the next time,
For sure.
it's like they have something that they can grow even further.
So really awesome. Good. So awesome. And I know Drew said last question, but I said one more question for you. I just thought of it, and then after this, after you share, I'm gonna have you pray. But what is your favorite video you've ever made?
So my favorite video of all time, just because of the significance it played in my life at that point in my career, was from going from 2020 into 2021. 2020 was a social media revolution of sorts in the church because churches had to start taking it seriously.
Definitely.
There were churches who legit hadn't done anything online until they were forced to.
Yeah.
Right.
And like that terrifies me because social media was already a big deal before 2020 and now even more so, right?
Definitely.
And so in ISM, the same sort of thing happened, but because we weren't doing events anymore, and that's the main thing that we're known for, we had to just become a resource. So like we started doing weekly podcasts and like a weekly talk show. I did a ton of TikToks at that time and it was fun. It was a fun season of experimenting.
Sure.
But I remember getting to the end of the year just feeling tired and just like not just tired, but aimless, where I'm like, why am I here? Like, and I think a lot of people felt that way, especially people in ministry felt that way. It's like, is this even for me anymore? Like, is this like, ministry, I like ministry until now, like, do I even want to do this anymore? And so in that season of recording podcasts, that was just the direction that I felt was like, keep doing podcast style content. I recorded a podcast with the boys who did 100 miles on a longboard to raise money for Speed the Light.
Yeah, that's such a good video.
And so it started off as a podcast, though. It wasn't supposed to be a video. We recorded like an hour-long interview just over Zoom. And then Chris Stanley, he was going to do a leaders Speed the Light gathering.
Okay.
And he's like, hey, we need a video to show at this thing. Do you have anything like that? And I was like, no, like nothing like what you're describing. I've just been doing podcasts for the past year. Like, and so that was the assignment. And I was like, well, shoot, what are we going to do? So I messaged the boys. I was like, do you have any footage that you took, like whether it's on your phones and they're like, yeah. And so they sent me a bunch of GoPro footage, a bunch of phone footage. Like they just sent me anything that they had.
That's cool.
And I was listening to the interview and looking over the footage, and this script came to me of like something I would say on camera. Yeah. That would capture just a mix of like what God was telling Chris and what God was telling me in that moment. And $4,000 video is what came out of that. Right. And we've shown it at several events now, and it started a revolution of me doing these regular Speed Light stories. And like that was my focus for 2021 was so cool telling those stories. And even now I do it in a different way. I make like more like 30-second to 1 minute versions of those stories now, but like that's something, it's still a big part of my job is telling those Speed the Light and BGMC stories. So for me, that video is my favorite because it helped me remember, okay, this is what God called me to do.
That's awesome.
It was just a win, because I think every leader needs that.
For sure.
Is like, you just need like, okay, God's using me.
Right.
So awesome.
Like this is what I'm called to do.
That's so cool.
And like, you're like, even though like, okay, I've gone through a lot of L's recently. I've gone through just like ideas that haven't worked, or I'm just tired and burnt out. It's like, okay, like I'm still in this.
Yeah.
That's good.
So awesome. Here, before we end it, let me pray for you, Zach.
Okay.
All right. Dear God, we pray for Zach. God, I pray and I thank you that he's being able to bless us with his ministry. I thank you that he's being able to come on the podcast and bless others. I pray that you continue to bless him, continue to work through him. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Amen.
Thanks, guys.
All right. Once again, thank you so much to Zach for being on here with us. Obviously, we've teamed up with him and Illinois Student Ministries quite a bit between Breakaway and Fine Arts, as Zach talked about. So it was super awesome to have him on. And just wanted to remind you guys, hey, if you get an opportunity, make sure you like, comment, subscribe to all the things. Make sure you hit the bell so you get a notification. The biggest one for us, though, is if you would take the time to just share this video with all your friends, with your family. Just try to annoy them as much as you possibly can with it. But other than that, my name is Pastor Drew. We had Hayes on, and again, Zach as well from ISM. Thank you so much for joining us and checking out The Now.